D2 Word Life here with Riptidz who loves donuts.
Yes, Ohana means family and donuts are family. And I eat donuts.
Yeah. Oh, today we are reacting to Dumbest Criminals Who Must Not Want Their Freedom, Part 2, brought to us by Be Amazed. I know there's an older video, but yeah, still worth watching. So without any further ado, let's get started.
From the funniest failed bribery attempt to the most ridiculous police chase ever, let's check out some criminals so dumb they must not want their freedom. Benson 22. The game of football, or soccer as it's called in America, has some pretty crazy fans all over the world. Paul Benson, from Belfast, Northern Ireland, happened to be a fan of Manchester United. He also happened to be a fan of petty theft. On one thieving session at his local Tesco supermarket in 2015, Paul loaded himself up with 104 pounds worth of goods and was preparing for a clean escape until the store's staff spotted him shoplifting. Paul fled the scene with the goods in hand, hoping he'd be able to avoid being identified. But Paul failed to account for one important thing. He'd been wearing his favorite Manchester United jersey, which happened to have his name printed in big letters on the back. After one glance at the CCTV, the police were able to identify the thief by his unmissable name tag, and he was arrested soon after. Word to the
Dumbass.
I don't even know what to say about that.
I do. Dumbass.
Man, if you gotta commit a robbery, which I don't condone, by the way, don't wear clothes that are personalized. That shows who you are.
Exactly.
That would be like me committing a robbery wearing this D2 Word Life hat. Everyone knows who I am based on that.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
If you want to remain anonymous, don't commit crimes in your personalized sportswear. Otherwise, you may end up as a Benson 22. Another word to the wise. For more hilarious, fascinating, and mind-blowing content, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. I post stuff like this every day that'd just be criminal to miss. Now, back to our laughably incompetent lawbreakers. Come back later. When a vape shop owner in Belgium found himself faced with a group of robbers one afternoon in October 2018, he tried something he probably never thought would actually work. As most of the store's sales tend to happen later in the day, he advised the robbers to return later, when the earnings had picked up a bit. Unbelievably, the robbers agreed with the suggestion. They left, and the shopkeeper called the police. The police, however, were reluctant to send someone out, as they argued the chances of the robbers returning to the crime scene was almost zero. But it turned out the police were wrong. The robbers returned later in the afternoon, and, incredibly, the store owner was able to convince them to come back later still, as peak business hours were about to begin. With the criminals' gullibility confirmed, the shopkeeper phoned the police again, this time being able to convince them that the criminals were coming back. So, a couple of undercover cops came to the store, hid in the stockroom, and waited. These catastrophically incompetent lawbreakers made this a very easy case indeed for the Belgian police force. Easy identity.
What in the fuck? Those guys aren't. Those guys make more. Those guys who came back went there not once, not twice, but 3 times. They make Marvin Harry look like freaking top tier smart criminals.
Exactly.
What?
Identification.
That made absolutely no fucking sense.
Remember when carrying out a crime. Never leave anything at the crime scene that might be used to identify you. One burglar from Leeds, England, forgot to follow that very basic second rule back in 2014 when he broke into, of all places, an orphanage. With a normal residence on an evening trip to the cinema, the burglar gained access to the building's safe before making off with the loot. But on his way out, he dropped something which he really shouldn't have brought with him in the first place, which the police found immediately upon investigating the crime scene: the burglar's birth certificate. It remains unclear why he had it on his person, but it...
Why the fuck would you have a birth certificate on you? Answer me this.
If I close my eyes, the dumb can't catch me. If I close my eyes, the dumb can't... What the...
No, even if you close your eyes, the dumb will catch you.
God, I can't... I'm trying... This is only the third clip, and I had enough of this ignorance.
Made for a quickly closed case when paired with the fingerprints he left at the building. A remarkably similar case also occurred in Boston, USA in 2013. When a woman had her purse stolen in the street, the robber unknowingly dropped his own bag before running off. Luckily for the woman, the robber's bag was overflowing with information that will prove very useful to the police. Among clothes and sneakers, the bag contained the thief's birth certificate, as well as a note from his mother. If the note didn't say, "I'm ashamed of you," the next one probably would, as he was arrested and his
When
was made
the fuck would you ever need your birth certificate on you?
Go into DMV to get your driver's license or ID?
That's only for a real ID.
I know, but other than that, I don't see why anyone would carry that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. What instance would you carry your fucking birth certificate for? You're fucking dumb as hell.
Exactly.
Back at it again. For some people, the allure of the criminal lifestyle is simply too much to resist. But one Florida man took his inability to resist crime to the extreme after being released from jail in 2019. With freedom in his grasp, he stepped out into the open air, but didn't even make it beyond the boundaries of the parking lot before his criminal urge overtook him. Officers found him a mere 15 minutes after his release, breaking into cars in the jail parking lot. In that short time, he'd managed to acquire an iPhone, 4 packets of cigarettes, a debit card, a driver's license, and $547 in cash. Needless to say, his taste of freedom proved extremely brief, as he was arrested and returned to jail immediately.
I don't want to keep pausing, but Jesus Christ. Couldn't even go 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Not even 15 minutes.
God, these people make them Karens look smart. Okay, that's probably stretching it.
Carpool pals. In the early hours of the morning of July 27, 2017, a thief was wandering around downtown in Fort Pierce, Florida, looking for an opportunity. When he noticed a vehicle which appeared to have been left with the keys in the ignition and engine running, it seemed to him like the perfect ride home. So he started rattling the handle to the driver's side in an attempt to get in. However, he failed to notice two very important things. Firstly, that he was attempting to gain access to a police car, and secondly, he'd missed the fact that there was a police officer sitting in the passenger seat, instantly clocking
What the? I'm done. I had enough of this stupidity.
Oh. How? You miss a fucking cop car for a fucking car, and then you miss the fucking cop sitting in the fucking passenger seat. Explain that to me, Dustin.
I have no explanations. This guy's IQ.
It's not like it was an undercover car. It literally had the fucking sirens on it.
I think this freaking guy's freaking IQ is 0. There's no fucking doubt about that.
No, his IQ is 0.25.
Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Ugh. Okay, this one wins. I think this story wins the fucking case. The stupidest of them all. Prize. Congratulations.
Was going on, the officer hopped out and detained the opportunistic but not so perceptive thief. On the bright side, he still got a free ride. To the station, that is. Hold the door. Most people have, at some point or another, experienced the awkwardness of trying to push a door that's meant to be pulled, or vice versa. But no matter how much embarrassment a situation of this kind may have caused you in the past, I guarantee it wasn't as bad as it was for this next robber. Walking into a bank, he wanders over to the desk where his demands for cash are met with a hard no in the form of a metal shielding. Fleeing, he becomes stuck at the door and begins seeking a new exit when this happens. Thanks to a very oblivious older lady, the failed robber finally sees
Don't tell me
what
this
was
guy
going
tried
wrong
to
and makes his
freaking push when
grand
it's that
escape.
pole.
Needless to say, with all those CCTV close-ups of his face, it wasn't hard for the police to catch the robber. Once they did, I've got a feeling he would forever be remembered in the precinct as that one criminal who couldn't figure out how to use a door.
Door dummy.
Hamburglar. How far would you go for a tasty cut of premium meat? If you're a vegan, you don't have to answer that. But a man in Cadiz, Spain showed his commitment to premium pork in February 2016 and stole 7 legs of Iberico ham. Lugging the legs away, alongside the cash till and a TV, he managed to make it home unnoticed. That was until the next morning. When the bar owner discovered his ransacked place of work, he contacted the police, and a lead of a very unusual nature was found. Turned out, when the burglar had stolen the ham, he dragged it to his home, leaving a trail of grease along the ground. The fatty trail led straight to the burglar's house, inside which was found 2 legs of very tasty ham, an empty cash till, and an embarrassed-looking thief. K9 Cop. Sometimes
Yeah, just make the
catching a
cop's
criminal
job
comes
easier.
down to the police using a few clever tactics. But the success of one such tactic, used by a police officer in Wiltshire, England in 2016, partly depended on the gullibility of the criminal he was pursuing. When a police chase ended with the occupants of the target vehicle fleeing, the officer in pursuit had to think quick. Selecting one of the passengers, he chased them for a moment before losing sight of them. With the target's escape seeming imminent, the officer made an unusual decision. He started barking like a dog. Of course, it's important to mention that before he started barking like a madman, the officer shouted to the criminal that he had a police dog with him. It seems the plan worked because the target stopped, allowing the officer to arrest him.
They all
Whatever
fake
works,
out.
I guess. Even if the whole thing
Dumbass, I would have kept running.
Learning the hard way. As most rookie criminals learn early in their career, if you want to avoid getting caught, don't try the stuff you see in TV and movies. It never goes to plan in real life. A German thief learned this the hard way back in 2007, when he attempted to replicate TV criminals by prying open his neighbor's apartment door with his credit card. Not only did the trick not work for the burglar, but the resident of the apartment was woken up by the sound of the failed attempt. The thief was able to flee before his neighbor saw him, but it didn't take the apartment owner long to realize who'd been trying to break in. That's because the credit card the burglar had been using to pry the lock had been snapped in half and dropped during the attempt. The half of the credit card that was left behind clearly said the thief's name and account details, and when police investigated his apartment, they immediately found the other half. I wonder if this escapade and the ensuing arrest affected his credit score. A brief mission. I'm not sure why, but dim-witted criminals seem to have a really hard time with doors. This was proven when this group of chumps tried to rob a jewelry store together, only to be stopped by the front door. Like our bank robber friend from earlier, these wannabe robbers can't quite grasp the idea that some doors require pulling rather than pushing. This minor hurdle brings the whole heist to an early close as they immediately flee back to the getaway vehicle in an incredibly embarrassing failure.
What was this, Rodeo Drive?
Sorry, the heist is off, boys. They used the force against us. It says pull, not push. Dumbasses learn to read.
First thing to do with a rubber, read.
Read the sign on the door. Jesus.
This guy seems to realize how useless these criminals all are straight away, because he doesn't flinch or move an inch during the whole event. You can't fault the attempted robbers for speed, though. It
The dude was locked
perfect
himself
in-and-out
into a
job, only
stupor.
without the in part. Sales pitch. This next story of useless lawbreakers comes from Nelson Crocker, who commented on the previous episode in this series. Nelson shared the brief tale of how thieves stole his dad's generator, only to make some seriously dumb decisions in the aftermath. Looking to turn a quick profit, the thieves failed to do their research before selling it on to what they hoped would be an unsuspecting buyer. If they'd used their brains even slightly, they'd have thought twice before attempting to sell the generator in the same area they stole it from. But that day, intelligence was in short supply, and the thieves sold the generator to the original owner's friend and neighbor, who lived just across the street. As soon as he noticed the similarity to the missing machine, the friend put two and two together and gave it back to its rightful owner, before turning the thieves in. As hard as it can be at times, this is why keeping your neighbors on your good side can really pay off. If you're keen to share a dumb criminal's story of your own, just like Nelson, you can. Just email yours across to stories@beamazed.com or leave a comment below for a chance to be featured in the next episode.
Stupid dumbasses.
Exactly.
Too close for comfort.
What?
Sometimes a smart criminal
No.
is one who can spot an opportunity for a quick buck without consequences. But the without consequences part of that idea failed to be taken into consideration by a thief in Oregon in 2018. The opportunity in question was an expensive-looking bicycle attached to a bike rack with an easily breakable lock. It seemed too easy to pass up, so the thief began cutting the lock with his bolt cutters. That's where his lack of risk assessment became an issue, because that bike happened to be chained right outside the local police station.
So you mean to tell me this?
He literally turned his ass in.
So you're telling me?
That's how much you want to bet the cops were taking bets and fucking said, oh, let's see how much this dumbass realizes what he's doing before we do anything.
So you're telling me this freaking goddamn genius, and yes, I use that term wisely, decided to steal a bike that was literally locked outside of a police station, making the cop's job way fucking easy? Not much in the brains department, is there?
No, that's why I said, how much you want to bet that they were taking bets in the police office station saying how long it would take the dumbass to know.
He's a dumbass.
And while the thief was attempting to liberate the bike for his own use, he was caught in the act by one of the station's officers. But on the bright side, he wouldn't have to walk far to jail, so he wouldn't be needing that bike.
The bright side, he would have to walk far.
To an attempted burglary in Carroll, Iowa, back in 2009, the witness report seemed a little strange. Allegedly, two men had been seen trying to break into an apartment with fake beards and masks scrawled onto their faces in permanent marker. Their attempt to burglarize the place had failed, and they'd fled the scene in their 1994 Buick Roadmaster. While the report seemed a little nutty, the police were eventually able to track down a car matching the description. And when they pulled it over, the descriptions proved accurate. In the car were two very drunk young men, with permanent marker disguises as described. These hilariously bad attempts to remain anonymous were, apparently, a drunken idea, as was the attempted burglary. But drunken escapade or not, the pair were charged with attempted burglary and drunken driving.
Sponsored by Sharpie. And what happened to your camera?
I turned it off for a second to click because when I saw that, I just fucking laughed. And, I spit my hot cocoa.
Damn, that sucks.
They'd used their brains for just a moment, the blundering burglars would have realized this inky story was always going to leave a permanent mark on their records. sweetening the deal. When
Donut.
police officers in Frederick, Maryland received reports of a man peeking into parked cars late at night in July 2018, they apprehended him on suspicions of planned thievery. What the policemen hadn't expected was for the guy to begin trying to bribe them, first with money, then with donuts. Initially, they thought the donut offer was just a belligerent criminal's attempt to mock them, but after a while, it became clear that he was totally serious. As it turned out, the suspect was actually an employee of Krispy Kreme Donuts and was legitimately trying to use his role to bribe the officers. The suspect was given a court date, and I can't help wondering if he'd tried his donut method on the judge and jury when the big day rolled around. Hey, he'd certainly swing my vote. Needing to vent. In 2018, police and firefighters were called to an abandoned Chinese restaurant in San Lorenzo, California, after reports of someone calling for help from inside the building. But when they arrived, they found nothing within the restaurant itself. It turned out the cries were coming from up above, from a man who, while attempting to burglarize the building, had become stuck in the restaurant's grease vent. For 2 days, he had been wedged in foul-smelling old filth, which had lined the vent walls so thick they were too slick to climb out of. But with a little help from the baffled officers, he finally found freedom. Embarrassed, dirty, but otherwise generally healthy despite his 2-day stay in Slime City, it's fair to say this rookie crook wouldn't be breaking and entering through any vents again in a hurry. Total snooze fest. Another hot take from one of our viewers now. We have commentator Seagaw's story of when their neighbor's house was broken into by a hilariously bad burglar. While the criminal was mid-burgle, the homeowner returned, and with no time to escape, the thief was forced to hide under a bed. Unluckily for the burglar, this bed belonged to the owner, who climbed onto it shortly after. With no other option, the burglar was forced to wait there until the homeowner fell asleep. Soon, the bedroom was filled with the sound of snoring, only the homeowner was still awake. As it turned out, the burglar had fallen asleep while waiting, and his snoring alerted the homeowner to his presence. It must have seemed like an awfully rude awakening when the police finally turned up to take Sleeping Beauty to the slammer.
What the fuck?
Duct tape bandit. What do you do when you want to carry out a robbery but your balaclava is in the wash? Going by the example of one man from Ashland, Kentucky, all you need to do is grab the closest thing at hand to use as a mask. For this particular man, his disguise of choice was made from duct tape, which he wrapped around his face before attempting to rob a liquor store. Despite threatening the clerk, the DIY disguise must have negated any intimidation he'd hoped for, as he was soon being chased out of the store by a wooden club-wielding manager. Despite his attempts to flee his disastrous robbery attempt, the duct tape bandit was quickly tackled by the manager and held in place until the police arrived. With his face taped and his arrest imminent, perhaps he finally realized what a sticky situation he'd created for himself.
You know, they say duct tape can fix pretty much almost anything, but it can't fix stupid.
Yep.
Speed pursuit. In January 2016, near Aberdeen, Scotland, it all began when a man was kicked off the bus for being too drunk. In his intoxicated state, the man somehow managed to steal a mobility scooter, which he attempted to use to complete his journey home. His wobbly driving pattern grew concerning for the other motorists on the road, and soon the police were called. When they arrived, however, the man refused to stop his wild ride and led the police on a 5 miles per hour pursuit. While, sadly, no one caught footage of the high-octane pursuit, it likely looked something like this, only with more chaos and the rider veering all over the place. Needless to say, the drunk's slow-paced vehicle was no match for a police car, and the chase proved short-lived. He was arrested at double the legal driving limit for alcohol, proving you should never drive and scoot, folks, or you might end up the embarrassing subject of a video like this. Do you have any local stories of dumb criminals getting up to ridiculous antics? Let me know in the comments below.
Okay, I think I already know, but your thoughts on this video?
Fucking dumbasses.
Out of all these dumb ones, which one do you think is the stupidest one?
All of them.
Well, they're all pretty stupid, but if I had to pick a winner, it's a tie between the person trying to steal a bike in front of the police station or the guy trying to freaking break and steal a cop car while the cops were in it. What the fuck?
Well, those two made the cops' job very easy.
Exactly.
Well, now there's a four-way tie. The two people that fucking took the birth certificate with them.
And the other forms of IDs. Bruh, really? Well, that's our thoughts and our opinions. Sorry if this video was too long because I kept pausing. I just couldn't comprehend the stupid that I was seeing. So anyway,
He kept saying, if I close my eyes, the stupid will not come. Yeah, he opened it, the stupid came.
And it got worse.
Right all over him.
Is it possible to lose brain cells from watching a video?
Yes, it's called Heroes of Wrestling.
Don't you even make jokes. But anyway, that's our thoughts on this stupid criminal video. Jesus. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Deuces.